Life is precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
What's happening? Welcome back to another episode of the Account for Life podcast. Jay Moore, the healthy accountant, helping you to account for your life. And today on the podcast, we're going to be jumping into wisdom. We're going to be talking about how when you get wisdom, you get favor. And man, I had an opportunity to be in California at the 100X conference just a few days ago. And I think this was sparked while I was there. So I want to share some key insights that Proverbs gives us so that when we use wisdom, when we find favor, yes, when we find wisdom, we'll get favor. And we're going to go to Proverbs, and in chapter 8, it's a whole chapter, which Proverbs in and itself is really about wisdom. All of chapter 8 talks about the call of wisdom, why wisdom is calling out to each and every one of us. We're also going to look at kind of like a framework of understanding of the levels that we go through when it comes to gaining wisdom, right? So let's jump right in. So as I was preparing for this podcast this morning, I was stricken with almost like a deja vu moment. I was just like, I'm having a deja vu moment. Like, what's deja vu? It's kind of like I feel like I've been here before. And sometimes the dates do it, like today, at the time of this recording and the airing of this podcast, it's October the 8th of 2025. And so I don't know, for some reason, it just kept saying 8, 8, 8. And then it said 18, 8, 18. It says, oh, let me go to Proverbs. There's something there that I should see. Now, before I go there, I'm going to read Proverbs 8:35, because this is really where I got the motivation and the inspiration for this. It says in 8:35 of Proverbs, for those who find me, wisdom, find life and receive favor from the Lord. Wait a second. I thought I already have life, right? It says, you will find life, right? For those who find wisdom, you will find life, and then you will receive favor from the Lord. So I had to look up some words. And one of the words I looked up, I had to look up favor. And it says, and I'm going to read what AI said on Google. It says, in the Bible, favor signifies God's approval, love, and gracious support, often expressed through divine blessing, divine meaning supernatural, protection and opportunity, and not earned through merit. This I can speak on specifically today. I'm going to share some favor that I received just by being me. There was no merit involved. There was nothing I had to do, but I received favor. And I know who the favor came from. It came from the Lord. It came from God. I got God's approval. I got God's love. I got God's gracious support. And man, oh man, it was revealed at the 100X conference. So look, guys, if you don't know anything about the 100X conference, you can probably look it up. I think 100xconference.com or 100X Academy. You can Google that. Gentleman by the name of Pedro Adele. He's the leader of the movement. Cool guy. And I came in contact with that movement back in 2019, and I've been around that movement ever since. Sometimes you just have to go where you're called. And what I realized, it wasn't just going there and just learning all the tactics about, kingdom entrepreneurship, but it was going there because I sensed something. Say that with me. Sometimes God will help you to sense something. I sense something about the movement. I sense something about, the person, the people in the movement and who's running the movement that I think I need to be here. And I just need to be around this for some reason. I'm being pulled. Now, here's what happens. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about wisdom. I'm going to come back to that story in a second. Now I want to talk about wisdom, because wisdom is one of these things that we already read. We already read that wisdom, hold on a second. I'm going back to Proverbs 8. Wisdom, it says, those who find wisdom will find life and receive favor from the Lord. So since we already know that, look at what else you get with wisdom. And then we're going to jump into these levels. It says, with wisdom, in verse 18, are riches and honor, enduring wealth and prosperity. I want you to make sure you caught that. At the end, it says, those who find me find life and receive favor from the Lord. But right here in the middle, verse 18, it says, with me, riches. You'll find riches and honor, enduring wealth and prosperity. Last time I was having a conversation with my wife, and I asked the same questions over and over and over, guys. And she's annoyed with me. Here's why. Here's why it's the same questions. Because what I told her, I says, honey, until we are moving at this, we're not the same, but we are the same. We are in a partnership. What does that mean? A partnership has to be on one accord for it to work. So because we're in a partnership, if we both have competing ideas or ideas that's not coming together, then there's going to be a problem. So I asked the question, hey, don't you want to be rich? And she's looking at me like, well, I want to be wealthy. I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, sure. But here's the thing, wealthy and rich are different. I'm wealthy already. But to be rich, you actually got to have the resources. So here it is. I said, you want to be rich? And she was just like, we got into it. And we were talking. And I'm just like, hey, man, at the end of the day, the reason why I ask these questions is because, look, there's levels that we have to get through. Because if you say you said, I would like to be rich. Say you said that, right? Okay, well, if you said that, then there's levels that we have to go through. Here it is. At some point, if you want to be rich, you're going to be ignorant to how that works. You're going to be ignorant, meaning you lack knowledge. That's all ignorance is, a lack of knowledge. So at the first level of gaining wisdom, we lack knowledge, which puts us in the ignorance category. The lack of knowledge, I call it the lack of knowledge. Or once we come into some knowledge, right? You come into some knowledge about something. You're like, hey, I want to be rich. You come into some knowledge. You got a lot of books back here. I've been on programs, then all of a sudden you become aware, right? You want to write that down. Now you become aware of what something is or how it might work. But here's the thing. Just becoming aware doesn't put us in a position that you can be rich. You're just aware of it now. See, because at the beginning of your life, maybe, and at the beginning of my life for sure, the seed of poverty was sown. I wrote that down at the conference because the question was asked, if there was anything that potentially could have that caused issues in your life, what was it? The seed of poverty was sown at an early age, and it was sown deep. And it was sown so deep that you don't even know sometimes when you are acting in a state of poverty. You don't even know. Seed was sown. And imagine this. Imagine if someone sowed seeds. Now the enemy, we know the enemy, and look, and it's talked about in the parables of Jesus, how the enemy came and sowed weeds amongst the good seeds. But here's the thing, you just can't pull them up. You just can't pull them up while everything is growing. Let them all grow together is what the parable states. Let them all grow, because once it's in full bloom, then we'll come back and pull the weeds. We'll come back and pull those seeds that we know shouldn't have been there. So sometimes you can't just get rid of the seed of poverty. But I'm aware that it's there. I'm aware that it's there, and because of that, then you move to the next level, understanding. Because we're trying to work our way up to wisdom. But understanding is now I'm taking knowledge that I'm now aware of, and with understanding, I can now kind of like they call it assimilation. I'm now assimilating this knowledge, meaning I'm actually starting to put things together. I'm starting to be able to explain it. Now I can now probably teach it. I can share it with someone else. See, a lot of times until you can explain something to somebody, until you know something for yourself that you can actually help someone else to know it, you don't know it. I heard Dr. Miles say that. He says you don't know something and it's not yours until you know it. You know what I'm saying? You have to know it first, and then it's yours. So someone can tell you something, but until you really can explain it and get down into what this is all about, it's not yours yet. So understanding puts us in a place where we can now assimilate all this knowledge and then make something of it. I've done this many times, where I assimilated information. I assimilated, like right now, I put together I have a training. It's called the Tax Game Masterclass. And inside the Tax Game Masterclass, we're talking about taxes, right? But while I was creating it, I said, well, you know what? I should probably create a framework that can not just teach the tax game, but it can also teach the business game. Yeah, the business game. So here was, I had this training together. I did it a few times. I said, wait, there's a framework. And I didn't know what it was. I said, what is this framework? We're talking about understanding. And the framework just came to me. It was weird. It was just like, I didn't call anybody. I didn't have any tools in front of me. It was just, here's a framework. Shift, sales, scale. Shift, sales, scale. And I was like, wow, that's a business framework. It's just not taxes, it's shift. I can use it for taxes. You got to shift your mindset when it comes to how you view taxes. You got to go from, taxes suck. Taxes, oh, I hate taxes too. Man, taxes is amazing. This is a game to win. Or if we're looking at business, we got to go from being a wage earner to going to being a business owner or being a CEO. You go from being the person that just got wages to now you identify as a CEO. So I was like, wow, shift. There's a few other things inside there, but that's business. So understanding puts us into place where all of a sudden it's just like, wow, I now can take information, knowledge that I was aware of, and now I can turn it into something else. That's understanding. But then wisdom. Like, how does one get wisdom? Ooh, now this is right. This right here. Because it says, with wisdom, riches, with me are riches and honor, enduring wealth and prosperity. So it didn't just say you had wealth. It says riches. That first thing it said was riches. Meaning you'll have as much money as you need when you have wisdom. As much money as you need. You have honor, like people honor you. You will be honorable. Enduring wealth means that it can withstand the test of time. Enduring. And then prosperity, meaning that's just your whole life is prosperous. Like everything you touch just all of a sudden turns good. Turns to gold is what they would say. Wow. So wait a second. So how does wisdom work? How does one get wisdom. It says, if it costs you everything in Proverbs 4, I believe, get wisdom. All right. So wisdom, what is wisdom? Wisdom is the application of the stuff. It's application. You have knowledge, you have understanding, and you have to apply. What wisdom could say is this, you got to do the stuff. If you don't do it, you can't have wisdom. So when we go back to, I never read the definition of wisdom. The ability to use knowledge, experience, and understanding to make sound judgments and decisions that benefit oneself and others. We'll read a little bit more. It goes beyond more intelligence or information. It involves discernment, insight, empathy, and deep understanding of life complexities, guiding actions toward ethical and beneficial outcomes. Wisdom is also often developed through life experiences and a commitment to personal growth and ethical conduct. I like how they put ethical conduct at the end, because if you're not ethical, wisdom won't apply. You can have as much wisdom as you would like, but without morals and ethics, it's just going to be fleeting. So wisdom is one of these things where it comes with experience. It comes with application. It's like the person who does something over and over, like a professional athlete. A professional athlete, they shoot, now just use basketball, they shoot the same shot over and over and over, the same one, literally layup, free throw, three-point, jump shot, like one dribble, two dribble, like they shoot the same shots over and over. If you were to watch a professional practice, it would be boring, because they're just doing the same thing over and over, and they do it so many times that you would probably get tired of watching. But here's the thing, you can't get bored when you're doing your thing. It's because a professional, and this is one area where I know that I personally lacked, because in like when you go into business, when you're doing something, you got to decide to be a professional at it. Because if we don't decide to be a professional at it, then it won't come out right. It won't show up right. But when you become a professional, then as professionals, you start looking at the details. You start doing more things the same things over and over and over and over and over. You start tweaking it. It's kind of like that framework. I couldn't get to the framework until I've been doing this thing over and over and over, and I had to keep doing it over and over and over. And then I start seeing different things inside of the same thing that I was doing, same information that I was talking about, the same words that I was saying week after week. Then all of a sudden I saw something different. Oh, because it came with experience. It came with, now I assimilated that information because I understood it, but the wisdom helped to create additional stuff, because now you have more experience. Now you have more understanding. And because of that, you actually grow. Like, wisdom creates personal growth. It literally creates it, because it makes you, it's like you have more of a body of work. When you find wisdom, you get favor. Now, we're going to get to this favor thing in a second, because I got a story I want to close up. I'll close that at the end, because I need you to understand more about this wisdom thing, because the favor thing takes time. You should write that down. Favor takes time. Or, well, let me put it like this. Favor comes in time. Why don't I say it? It doesn't take time. It just comes in time. It could be a day. It could be 2 days. It could be a year. It could be 5 years. It comes in time. So because it comes in time, you don't know when the favor is going to hit. You don't know. And because you don't know when favor is going to hit, you use wisdom to continue along the path that you're on. So, all right. In 2022, I was at the 100X conference. Well, let me go back to 2021. In 2021, it was just really coming out of the major COVID where you could now start having like in-person events. And so October of 2021, they had 100X, Pedro and those guys, they had their first in-person conference since 2019. So here it was. They had their in-person conference and I went. Man, it was a great conference. And I was watching, I'm sitting in there and I'm watching people and I'm seeing people up on the stage and they're giving their stories and, how this movement has changed their life, changed their business. And I sat in my seat and I looked at my wife and I said, the next time I come, I'm going to be up there. I looked at my wife. I said, the next time I come, I'm going to be up there. That's it. And I actually didn't think about it anymore. So they were having 2 conferences a year. They would have one in October and they would have one in March, April. For some reason, I did not go. I wasn't even thinking about this statement, guys, but things didn't work out and I didn't go to the next conference in person. I went virtually, but I wasn't at the conference in person. And then, so October 22 comes around. I get to the conference. I'm there. My wife wasn't able to come though, but I'm there. I'm there. But 2 days before the conference, I got a message from one of the leaders of that works with the movement, and they asked me, "Hey, would you mind? See, you're doing some things. Looks like you had some success. Why don't you? I think we want to interview. Or I think we want to bring you on stage." It's like, really? Yeah, I'll be there. Okay, cool. So it was a number of us, maybe 10 of us, that was asked to come up and, and share. And it was the day of, we were at a luncheon and we were kind of discussing some things about being there and stuff. And it hit me while I was there. I said, wow, you know what? When I was last here, October 2020, I said I was going to be on stage. So that was the first thing that happened. So here it is. Now I'm on stage to share my story. And then a whole bunch of things happened. I got a bunch of words from people, which was new for me. I had never had this kind of thing happen. But I started to see something. People started saying that I had this favor, and they started saying these things that I had and things that I didn't automatically know that I had. But I started seeing favor over the conference. Like, wow, this conference is favored. The people involved have favor. I would like some of that. And then they highlighted something at the end of one of the conferences in 2023. And to this day, I have it on my phone. I'm going to show you something. On my phone, if you can see that, it says 555. That's a screenshot. The number 5 in Hebrew means favor. The number 5 means favor. It's actually favor and grace. So when I came into house, I said, wow, number 5, favor and grace. And that conference in 2023 ended at 5:55, literally ended at 5:55, and I took a screenshot. Literally, they ended, took a screenshot, 5:55, and I says, man, Lord told me there's favor over your life, which means there's triple favor. There's so much favor over your life. I was like, wow. And then I heard the Lord tell me that I would be the go-to tax person in the group. Not because I was the best, not saying I'm not good, not because I had to be the best, not because that there was something that I had to do, not because that there was any circumstances that put me ahead of someone else, just said, that's what I'm going to give you. Let's go back to the definition of favor. God's approval, love, gracious support, often expressed through divine blessing, supernatural blessings, protection, opportunity, and not earned through merit. It was July of 2024. I got a message from Pedro saying, hey, we should get together. I'm doing some things. I want to discuss how to merge in this tax stuff. I had not talked to Pedro about taxes. I had not talked to Pedro about doing anything for the community. And he says, I want to talk. 2024 at that time was about to be a whirlwind for my family. Literally, that was like July. We had some conversation, maybe early August. I had to go back. But then I learned late August that my mom had cancer. So I was waiting for Pedro to get back to me. He never got back to me. Then he gets back to me. So my mom goes through surgery in September. My mom gets out of the hospital around October 15th of 2024. And back home, I get a call from Pedro on November. Whatever the date was, it was the day before Thanksgiving. Day before Thanksgiving, I get a call talking about doing this thing. He's like, cool, we're doing it. Boom, boom, boom. I'm going to do something right here at the end of the year. Then he disappeared. Why? Because both my parents, their lives and their end of life started to accelerate to the point where between Thanksgiving, which was the last time we were all together, Dad went into the hospital 2 days after Thanksgiving. Mom went into the hospital around December the 8th or 9th. And in February 2024, they both passed. February 20 days of each other. February 6th and February 26th. You know, buried my mom. March, Pedro calls. Literally maybe a week later. And then, you know, things have been progressing. I started working with 100X. I started doing things in that community, did some trainings with Pedro. Things are going great. And at the conference, he introduces me to the whole group. People that didn't. Some people may have seen some of the videos and some of the stuff, but then introduced me, which then was a culmination of the favor that God had already spoken over. Now, I'm not here to say, oh, I'm getting rich from this. Hey, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I could. I'm just talking about the favor of the Lord. When you find wisdom, this is the thesis of today. When you find wisdom, you get favor. How did I find wisdom? I found it because I was looking. It says that when wisdom calls, you must listen. Wisdom called and said, stay here in 100X. Do not leave 100X. Go to these conferences. And I was not going to go to the conference, guys. I was like, oh, I'm not going to this conference. And some said, what is wrong with you, boy? You're going to the conference. And then I had to say I was going, but I was almost not going to go. I was literally going to lie. Maybe this is not the season to go. And I'm just not going to go. And the Lord said, boy, you're going to all these conferences. Every last one, every conference that they do, you'll be there. You're not going to miss a conference. Lord willing, I won't miss any conferences. I was not going to go. And then it was like 2 weeks out and boy, you better get these tickets. And then things just kind of opened up for me to go to the conference. I take my son with me. He gets exposed. He sees it. Bam, look at that. Why don't I tell you this story? Here's why. When you find wisdom, you get favor. You don't actually have to do anything to get favor. Because when you find wisdom, God immediately approves you because that's what God wants us to have. He wants you to have wisdom. Because when you have wisdom, you won't make rash decisions. You won't do things that doesn't make sense. You have the discernment. You have the sound judgment. Yes, me too. I'm talking with you. I'm not calling you out here. We would have all of that. And because we have that, you just get it. Baby, it just comes. Some of you may already know this. Like, man, I've experienced supernatural blessings. Man, I've experienced the protection. I've experienced like opportunities coming out of nowhere. I've experienced things that I didn't actually have to do anything for. I've experienced all of that. And like, wow. So you have favor. Maybe you found wisdom and you didn't realize it. So what is wisdom again? Wisdom is the application of truth. That's what it is. The application of truth. Because when we apply, when we do the things that are of truth, you can't lose. I can't lose. No one can lose when you apply the truth in your life. There's so many truths to learn. There's a truth about there's a truth about everything, like food. There's a truth about money. There's a truth about relationships. There's a truth about religion. There's a truth about just about like parenting. There's truth. So whatever area we're looking at, we got to literally find the truth about it so we can apply it. I was talking to my wife just last night we're talking about food. And I guarantee you, I says, if you only ate meat, I guarantee you would just start shedding weight. She says, I'm going to test it. Do it. I guarantee you, even if you ate red meat every day, that's all you ate, you wouldn't gain weight. You can't gain weight eating that kind of stuff. But here's the thing, you got to know that for yourself, because they've told us that red meat was not good for you. They told you that. They told me that. I remember buying in when they said red meat, it takes too long for it to digest. Okay, I can live with that. But here's the thing. That's because red meat is being absorbed into your body. You're not going to excrete. You're not going to excrete all that stuff out. That stuff is being absorbed into your cells. That's why red meat is better than a lot of other foods. Any food that has, a label that has a bunch of stuff on it's not good for us. Just about anything. Even if it's some on the healthy scale, but it has a lot of ingredients, food-wise, it's probably not good for us. Meat, one ingredient, just the meat. Now, here's the thing. Do they do things that can be bad? Yeah. But here's the thing. I can probably go with that more than I can go with all those ingredients. Things that I don't know about. So when you find wisdom, you get favor. So where have you gotten favor in your life? If you know where you've gotten favor in your life, you should be able to track where you found wisdom. So that's your exercise today. Look at where you may have gotten favor in your life so that you can see the wisdom that maybe you've overlooked. So when you see that wisdom, what that means now is you should probably pay attention to that wisdom and do more of that. Remember this, wisdom is the application of truth. So if you've already gotten favor and you know that you've gotten favor, then that's an area for you to focus. By focusing on that, I can almost guarantee you. I can't tell you exactly what your results will be. I can almost guarantee you will see an acceleration in your life. You may see an acceleration in your business. You may see an acceleration in your marriage. You may see an acceleration in just the body of work that you are doing. And man, you will see an acceleration. There's an acceleration on my life when it comes to content. That I'm about to let you go. I just want to share this with you. Here's how I know there's acceleration on my life when it comes to content. Because I'm able to create content, this kind of content, easy. Easy for me. Maybe not easy for you, but easy for me. So there's favor on that. Have favor on this, which means that there's wisdom that I possess because I've applied truth. Here's a truth that I apply. I'm going to share this with you and I'll let you go. There's a verse, there's two verses in Matthew chapter 7. I'm going to read it word for word. Verse 13 and 14. Here's what it says. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow is the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. This piece of wisdom that I found in the Bible has transformed my life. How did I do it? Here's how I did it. There's a principle there. If everyone's going the same direction, you're probably going the wrong way. So I applied this to my life, and I apply it to everything that I do, because what I realized is that if everyone's going, I ain't going. I'm going the opposite direction, because I can probably guarantee or be guaranteed that other road that where only a few people are on is going to lead me to life. That is wisdom that I've been applying to my life, and I know that I've gotten favor because of it. What's the favor over your life? What piece of wisdom have you applied that you should apply more? That's your question. That's your homework. And that's what you should do, because when you find wisdom, you get favor. And I just thank God for you today and all that God's going to do through you and through the works of your hands. So guys, I appreciate you for joining me for this episode of the I AFYL Podcast. Jay Moore, the Healthy Accountant, helping you to account for your life. God bless, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.